Today we will be looking at neural networks. Artificial neural networks are made up of artificial neurons. But what exactly is an artificial neuron, and what role does it play in machine learning or deep learning, and for that matter, even NLP? The best way to conceptualize neural networks or an artificial neuron is to think about it as being a mathematical function that's modeled after a biological neuron. This is a picture of a human leg with the hamstring muscles, the instrument that a doctor would use if you were testing a person's reflexes, and then we have a very basic model here of a human brain and the nerves that goes from the muscle to the brain and then back down to the muscle. So what's happening in this picture is that upon stimulus, when the doctor hits your knee, that sensation or that message sends that from the muscle would send that pulse through that sensory neuron, and then it would be processed. And if there's some sort of significant weighting, as in if the message seems important enough, because that's what happens here, the brain would be getting thousands and thousands of simultaneous sensory neuron messages, and it has to figure out, should we forward this or not? So if this message is important to be forwarded, meaning that we need to output some sort of reaction, then it outputs that message through these motor neurons because they need to send that message to the muscle so that it can mechanically move and kick your knee up, kick your leg up. So basically the biological neurons in our human body, they have three basic functions. The neuron receives some sort of information or a signal, and we would address that in our artificial neural network as an input, which is the information that says something just hit us in this spot. And then the second thing that a neuron does is that it processes these signals. So the second process would be determining, should we forward this information? And then the third thing that happens, that the third function that the neuron is responsible for, is that it has to communicate that signal that was processed to either another neuron or, other neurons, or to muscle. And in this case, the third function that a neuron has to do is to communicate that it processed exactly what this sensory neuron conveyed to it. The last function would be to communicate to the muscle, hey, you need to kick that knee up. And the artificial neurons and the neural networks that we will be discussing throughout this course and throughout any deep learning study that you do is all based, it's a mathematical model based on this concept, which I personally think is extremely interesting and even magical when you come to think about what we're trying to do with machine learning and artificial intelligence. You can view the upcoming lecture as I've provided a really nice animation taken from Sesame Street that gives you a really nice, interesting overview of the biological neuron. So let's have some fun and just look at that really interesting little video coming up. And then after that video, for the rest of the section, we get more into the serious aspects of artificial neural networks.